At Mississippi State. Coach, you've been doing this so long, it kind of feels like you're part of our Sports Talk Mississippi family. So I got to share with you what we were talking about before we went to break.
Oh.
So Brian Haydad, who you know well, has been on a bit of a weight loss journey, odyssey maybe, for about the last year, and he's dropped a ton of weight, like 70 pounds. Is that right, Haydad? About 70?
81.
81 pounds so far.
81. That's pretty impressive.
So he's been walking and mixing in a little exercise. He told us today that he ran for the first time since 1994. He ran for 3 minutes this morning without stopping. That's big time, huh?
Good. That's awesome. That is awesome. So, hey, these big guys, we got to stick together. So I'm on that journey always. I'm always on that journey. So I'm probably the only former offensive lineman coaching baseball. So
we just stay on that boat, Coach. We just stay on the trip. That's all we can do sometimes.
It's a never-ending journey, right? So, but that's awesome,
yes,
man.
Sir.
Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
So you get a sweep this weekend. Congratulations to you as well. Get the win on Friday night. Have a long day with no baseball on Saturday, and then a long day with a doubleheader yesterday, and you're able to finish on top in all three games. Good weekend.
Yeah, it was good. We needed it. Kind of feel like we made one up with that last game that we probably lost earlier in the year. And in our world, you're just trying to grab every conference win you can, man. And none of them are easy. You know, people say, well, Auburn, they are down. I guess they've played a really hard schedule, but there's a lot of good players on that field, and it's never easy.
Going back to Friday, we get another outing from Cal Steven where he is not just good but dominant. What has – I know we talked about this a little bit last week, but take us a little bit deeper on his evolution throughout the season.
It's all in the off speed. You know, he's always had a pretty good fastball, commanded the fastball at a high level, has some nice ride to it, but he's been able to really develop the changeup, the slider, the curve, all three. And he's just growing and getting confidence in it week to week. And he's always been a really tough, competitive kid, and you saw that at the end of the start. I think his last three pitches, were the three hardest balls he threw all night long at like 106, the set 107th pitch, 108th pitch of the night. He's throwing as hard as he had all night long, and it just shows you how competitive he is.
Beyond what he gives you on the mound, is there a confidence that the rest of the team has now when he takes the rubber where it's like it makes the offense better also?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're seeing us being a little better offensively in those games. I think we've jumped out there, and it's a good feeling knowing you got, they always say team chemistry in baseball is starting pitching. And you have a really good starter like that, everybody comes to the ballpark and they feel good, they're confident, and they're ready to go. And, he's really, helped us in that role.
Coach, we've talked to you a couple of times about Logan Kohler and some of the struggles he's faced this year. Then he goes and has the game tying RBI on Sunday, and had 3 RBI total in that game, and just looked a lot more confident at the plate. As a coach, just how satisfying is that for you to see a guy who's been working through it? He's putting in the work to finally get there and have that big hit.
Well, it was huge, and we sat there, we didn't know. I asked Goat, I said, "Do you want to sack or hit?" And he goes, you're at a point in your lineup where sometimes when you bunt, who are you bunting to get to? And I got a freshman who's played 10 at bats in his career behind him, so I asked Logan, I said, I don't know if I'm going to sack or let you hit. And he, I'd like to, hit, very, strong words there. And I said, well, all right, let's hit, and he was able to get that big swing. I think 3 weeks ago he would have probably told me, okay, I'll bunt. When you're not as confident. But he's put in, like you said, he's put in a ton of work. He hasn't stopped working. He hasn't pouted. And, this game can be really cruel at times, but it can also be very rewarding, and that's what you saw on Sunday.
And then you mentioned the freshman, Ethan Pulliam, a kid that I know pretty well here from his time at Starkville High School. I think he came to bat the first 3 times on Sunday, and there were 2 runners on every time. He delivered an RBI in one of those situations. Talk us through the decision to go ahead and get him out there on the field at second and what he's bringing to your team right now.
Well, I probably did a poor job of not playing him enough early. He had a good fall. He's probably a little ahead offensively than defensively, so getting him in the mix has been tough. But he works extremely hard. He's a good player. And when you watch him right now, he's comfortable. And that's kind of the hard part when I'm playing all these different freshmen and young kids. You know, some of them get sped up just because it's such a big atmosphere, you know, such a big moment. And that didn't happen to E at all. You know, E looked as comfortable as he could be out there, took a lot of pitches, you know, out of the zone, worked good counts, and just played good all weekend. We just got to see him. The normal guy that we see in practice, we were able to see in the game. And he was a big boost for us last week.
Visiting with Chris Lemonis after Mississippi State sweeps Auburn this weekend. Coach, I think fans almost are conditioned now to seeing a pitcher come out of a game early, and whether it's soreness or tenderness or whatever, people always think the worst. And Durangelo Sanja had to come out early last week, and people are like, yeah, something wrong. He comes back, and in that first game of the doubleheader yesterday, gives you 6 2/3 in a 7-inning game. How good was he, and how, I don't know, maybe refreshing was it to see him be able to bounce back the way that he did?
Yeah, it was you know, that was a tough part of last weekend. You know, that really set the tone for that last two games, and he just didn't feel good. He wasn't comfortable. Just, you know, and it wasn't arm as much as it was back. And I was pretty confident in it all week. I didn't know what we were going to get, but I think if you looked at TrackMan and looked at the raw stuff, it may have been the best of his career. You know, I think he was 96 to 98 for most of the game. And, you know, his fastball, he'll throw that for you, but his average fastballs in that game, it was a higher number than we normally see. And it just shows you he was feeling good and confident. He had family in the house, and he wanted to go back out there for the seventh inning. You know, we were debating on sending him out, and he was like, no, I want to finish this. You know, and he gets the first 2 outs quickly, and then he walks. Typical, we walk a guy and create an inning, but we were able to fight out of it.
And then in the final game of the series, at the end, and I mean it's a 7-inning game, and you end up going to extra innings, and you win it in the bottom of the 8th. But Tyson Harden, really, really good. 2 innings, 5 strikeouts, and he gives you a chance in a tight game.
He's really, I mean, it's maturing. You know, the best part about Tyson is he came out and got Ike Irish in the first game. You know, I thought that was probably the pressure moment, and then he sits for 3 hours and comes back and gives you another 2 innings at that level. He's really blossoming. Him and Coach Parker have really hit it off, and, you know, kind of changed his repertoire of pitches and sink, and kind of made him a sinker guy. And you're seeing his velocity grow with his confidence, which is a lot of fun to watch.
Coach, I saw the tweet. You're going with Pico Khan again on Tuesday, just like you did last week. He's finally gotten to the point where you feel a little bit more comfortable giving him some innings. Is he a guy that, you know, you think can be a weekend part of your weekend plans as well, or is it just right now you have to kind of be careful with him?
Yeah, it's tricky, man. We're trying to we need to build some volume, and then I need him on the weekend. You know, so he probably won't go too long on Tuesday. I'd like to have him ready for the Vanderbilt weekend also. He was so good last week, the best that we'd ever seen him last week, even before the injury. You know, it was 92, 94. It was 3 pitches for strikes. Mechanically, he's gotten better. And then, you know, a couple days after, he felt great. So that's when you know his mechanics are in the right order, and he just, you know, he's not as sore the next day. And he could be a really big piece for us because, I mean, if he's 92, 94 pitching that way, it could be he could be a weekend starter in our league.
Coach, last thing, 4 weeks left in conference play. You guys talk about postseason at all? I mean, sitting at 10-8 in pretty good shape. Obviously, a lot of baseball remaining, but it goes by in a hurry. Is that a topic of conversation about what have we got to do to get there?
Well, I've told our guys in the past, you know, the rule in our league is always 15, right? 15 you're in, and probably 17 and 18 you're hosting, you know, in the SEC. So I laid it out for them at the beginning of everything. And then I think at the midway point, we just said, hey, this is where, you know, you control your destiny. We're in a good spot, but, you know, how we play and what we do, and we got to do something. We got to get, you know, go on one of these road series that, you know, we have 2 big road series left and do some damage, you know, and it's against tough opponents. I mean, you got number 9 Vanderbilt, number 2 Arkansas, but the reality is somebody's going to win, you know, games and put themselves in a good spot, and why not us? So we always put those sticking points out there for them. You know, the whole goal for our program every year is to host. You know, one, you want to get in, but two, you know, to be able to host. That's what we've talked about since we got here. So you're building your resume, but it's never easy. Even this morning, our coaches meeting, everybody's, you know, in good spirits because of the sweep, but then we still got a lot of work to do. You can't pat yourself on the back because this league is tough.
Chris Lemonis, head baseball coach at Mississippi State. Coach, always appreciate your time. Thanks so much.